This is a practice paper, Germany in Transition 1929 to 1947. Section A is compulsory and you choose one question, question 2 or question 3 from section B. This paper is from June 2012. The paper for June 2013, the compulsory section will be on Germany 1939 to 47, so the war years and what happened to Germany, the partition of Germany after the war, denazification, etc. The purpose of this paper is to revise and to give you the feel of the paper and to help you and guide you with the type of skills you need to answer the questions. So, last year's section A was on changing life of German people. So you get a source-based question worth 2 marks. Don't waste any time, answer it very quickly. For example, what does source A show you about the National Reich Church? 2 marks. It has been Nazified. There's photographs of Hitler and swastika flag at the altar. There is no cross or Bible on show. You could add it does not look very religious, and that really it's just a propaganda method for the Nazis to indoctrinate the minds of the German people. What it doesn't show you is the importance of religion. Question B. Use the information in source B and your own knowledge to explain why propaganda was used by the Nazis after they gained power. You've got to make sure to get 4 marks that you use both the source and some of the quotes and words from the source as well as your own knowledge. So for example, you could say that propaganda was used because it was the main means of indoctrinating or brainwashing the German people with Nazi ideology. After 1933 it was used extensively, such as through the radio and the cinema, as quoted in source B. Radios were cheap and were provided by the Nazis to the people, as they knew they could get all cross-sections of society through the radio. Goebbels was head of the propaganda ministry. He was a master of manipulation, so all forms of media were used to spread the Nazi messages. Posters, as in source B, a maker linked to source B, and mass rallies, as stated in source B, such as at Nuremberg, one of the birthplaces of Nazism. These were common methods of persuasion. Use the quote from source B. You could carry on to say the Nazis used propaganda to spread anti-Semitic messages through culture and the arts to project the image of the perfect Aryan race in their racial ideology or their racial policy. And also propaganda was important to secure the loyalty to the Nazi regime. How far does source C support the view that the Jews were treated harshly in Nazi Germany between 1933 and 39? 5 marks. A lot of people find this difficult, this question, but you've just got to make a judgment. How far does source C support the view that the Jews were treated harshly? Does it really support the view or not, is what the question's asking you. Does it go a long way into supporting the views that the Jews were treated harshly? If you look at the source carefully, it actually doesn't go a long way in suggesting that the Jews were treated harshly. It's very early on in 1933 and it's about the boycott of the Jewish shops. This is way before the subsequent years when the Nuremberg laws, the racial laws and the effects of Kristallnacht really came to being. This was in the early days of state-sponsored persecution of the Jews. It was just starting out. So really, it isn't that harsh, even though it is quite out of order. So if you were to make a judgment, it doesn't show you, support the views that the Germans were treated harshly in Nazi Germany between 1933 to 39. But it does perhaps show you that there was an anti-Semitic feel and that the Nazis were being very, very awkward and difficult towards the Jewish people living in Germany, and you can tell that times were changing perhaps, and it was aimed at humiliating the Jews, but we know through your own knowledge that worse was to come. But the point being is it was the start of the process of increasing persecution, and I've actually made a judgment. How far does source C support the view? Okay, don't just describe the source, you've got to answer the question and keep referring back to the question. How far? Make a judgment. Source D is about the League of German Maidens, League of German Girls. and it's about a 10-year-old who talks about the entire class except one girl joining the BDM, the League of German Maidens. Twice a week in the afternoons, getting together for sports, activities, dancing, folk dancing, storytelling, needlework, etc. You've got to remember that the Nazis believed in brainwashing the female population to believe in the free Ks and to absolutely be good German mums for the future and provide the Führer and Germany with a workforce and a great Aryan race. Frau Schmidt is from the time. She's writing or talking about her experiences in the 1930s, and it's an interview published way after in the 1980s. So, how useful is Source D to an historian studying the reasons why many Germans joined the Hitler Youth movement? 6 marks. You've got to really look at giving a reasoned and balanced evaluation. Consider the usefulness of the source. All sources have use, but how useful is that source to you as an historian studying the reasons why many Germans joined? It's got a lot of use. It will tell you that they were attracted to these activities such as singing, dancing, craft work, sports, etc. It also tells you that they had no regret at the time in joining in the immediacy, the presentism of absolutely taking part in these events. It must have been exciting for them at the time as children, so in their minds it was a great experience. It also talks about how it's first-hand experience. You can deduce it's first-hand, and although you've got to be careful about how useful it is, because it's been a long time since she's taken part in the BDM. So it might be useful, but it might not be as reliable as it could be, and therefore that may impact upon the use. And you would need further sources and further research to ascertain why young German girls or boys joined the Hitler Youth movement, the BDM or the Hitler Youth. Okay, the final question, Source C, talks about 2 differing sources and why they've got differing views on the same fact. Again, you've got to make a comparison and say why they're who, when, why and what and where, why they're different. Okay, look at the author, look at the content, look at the purpose of the source. The question, I'm going to jump between the two. Okay, one is a Nazi a document, government statistics, so it's going to be a form of propaganda. It's going to be highly biased towards making the Nazis look good. Source F is well researched from an American journalist writing an article about work under the Nazis, okay, published in 1936. So we're going to jump between the two. Why do sources E and F have different views about the unemployed in Germany between 1933 to 39? Don't just describe the sources, okay? You've got to use both the content of the sources and the author to describe why they have differing views. And to answer this question, you've really got to go label the point that Source E demonstrates a sharp reduction in unemployment, but because it's trying to show the Nazis were doing good for Germany, were having an impact on Germany, and that the peak of unemployment in 1933 was 6 million, falling to just over 300,000 in 1939. An incredible record showing how successful the Nazis had been. On the other hand, Source F is critical of that, saying there's reasons for that. Invisible employment, women out of the workplace following the ideology of the Nazis and the three Ks, Kinder, Cooker and Kirche, church, children, and feeding the family and cooking and being a great housewife. And the Jews, the confiscation of the Jews' property, not being able to work anymore in industry or for the government or hold positions of office, being unemployed and being put into ghettos and moved, and resettlement meant that a lot of the unemployment fell drastically, whilst Jews and other political opponents, etc., were rehoused, resettled, giving more jobs to the Aryan Germans. So one is also a source of an American journalist. So you've got to look at the content and the author and why he's written this and who he is. He's writing in 1936. He's got no censorship issues. He's got no pressure. He's not going to be in trouble with the Nazis or the Gestapo. So he's going to have a more honest, perhaps a more honest view than the Nazi official government figures, which are going to be a form of propaganda to make the Nazis look good. They're not going to talk about the Jews. They're not going to talk about women in a negative way. They're going to show the sharp decline in unemployment to show they've been successful. Okay, And really, to get a level 4, you've got to have a sustained explanation, keep reverting back to the question and answer the sources in a sophisticated and integrated way. And you can read it there for yourself, look, okay? Source E and F provide differing views of the degree of unemployment in Germany because of their origins. Then you describe the origins and intertwine them together to say why they are so different in their views. Give you time to read that level 4 descriptor. I'm going to end this film now and make another film on section B, which will be part 2. Thank you.